Please welcome Docker CEO and Chairman of the Board, Steve Singh.
Good morning. As you can see, I'm not much of a juggler. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to DockerCon. Welcome to Barcelona. I'm so happy to be here, by the way. This is one of my favorite cities in the world. Great food, great culture, great art. That's made even more warm and attractive by the warmth of its people. So thank you very much, and welcome. So this morning, there are 2,200 innovators sitting right here in this room, and about 10,000 or so joining us online, representing, frankly, an amazing mix of people. Developers that are new to Docker, developers that have been with us from the very, very beginning, operators or operations leaders that are running small startups, to those that are running operations at a global scale. CIOs, heads of infrastructure, heads of applications. Right? Collectively, this group of professionals is taking center stage at virtually every company in the world. Thank you all, one more time. Thank you for joining us at DockerCon. Look, we're going to have a great week together. We're going to share some ideas, learn from one another, hear about new projects. We're also, of course, going to see some amazing demos and some new products. Everything we do at Docker, every single thing, has a singular focus. Deliver a platform that enables innovation at a global scale. 5 years ago, we bonded over this very simple but powerful idea. Let me make sure I don't destroy something here. We bonded over a very simple but powerful idea. Let's change the way that software is built, how it's shared, and how it's run. Docker was able to take this ingenious concept of a software container and make it accessible and make it simple. And that changed everything. Look, we all know this, but the power of a simple idea, particularly those that allow everyone to participate and allow everyone to benefit, is that it changes our reality. And that's rare. I've been doing this a long, long time. That's rare. And frankly, that's what we are lucky to share in common, to have together. Look, today containers are everywhere. They're Linux, they're Windows, they're the data center, they're the cloud. And over time, they're the billions of edge sensors and devices that are going to be a part of every single physical device that you can imagine. To imagine the power of containers, all you have to do is check out the Port of Barcelona as you drive in from the airport. The physical shipping containers that dot the wharf were the core ingredient of what became global commerce. Around that container, we built a platform in the form of machinery, right? To be able to load and unload those containers, to manage them, to secure them, to ship them across oceans and countries and city streets. Almost overnight, goods that were once available only in certain parts of the world were available globally. What were once small markets became global markets, and port cities like Barcelona became the major drivers of economic opportunity. So as we embark upon the fourth industrial revolution, we think the software containers will be at the heart of that digital transformation. Analogous to the shipping container, our focus on creating a standard for software containers was driven by that same singular goal I just mentioned: enable innovation at a global scale. And frankly, that's what we're seeing. Incredible growth, incredible adoption. You're building, you're sharing, and you're running containers via Docker Desktop, Docker Hub, and the Docker platform. In the past year alone, more than 1 million new developers started using Docker Desktop. You spun up more than 5 million applications. to share with one another in Docker Hub. And in fact, every single week, more than 1 billion containers that you've chosen to share are pulled and used. And to date, about 75 billion containers have been downloaded. Look, containers have clearly become the de facto standard of application development. Collectively, this group of people has decided that the next global infrastructure platform is going to be based on open source technology so that we can collaborate with one another and we can build upon the work of others, so that we can enable a new level of security. Frankly, so we can radically improve innovation cycles, and that we will always have choice. And this is happening, frankly, because of all of you, an amazing community of developers, of partners, of customers. Together, you are ushering in the next generation of computing, and you're enabling an amazing array of possibilities. So, look, in a hybrid cloud world, where the edge is just as critical as the expanding needs of the data center, we need a distributed computing platform. And it's clear that container platforms will replace existing platforms. Not just because our needs have outgrown our legacy platforms, but like every other generational shift in platforms, there are massive benefits that come with the next generation technology. Container platforms drive an order of magnitude improvement in the efficiency of how we use compute resources. They enable massive improvements in how fast we can innovate. And because they enable security across the entire software supply chain, from the application to all the way to the data that the application manages. In fact, look, by the way, we're seeing this happen today. Right? Containers have moved well past dev and test environments. They've become trusted, frankly, in large-scale applications and environments where our customers are running mission-critical applications. Now, frankly, many of the companies that are sitting here in this room are doing just that. But you're not alone. In fact, according to IDC, there's about 76% of the companies that have adopted container platforms are now running mission-critical applications on containers in production. In fact, Visa, one of our customers, ran its merchant payment application on the Docker Enterprise platform over the 2 busiest days of transaction processing that occur in the year: Black Friday and Cyber Monday. What once used to be US-specific events, now global events. Look, we're really humbled that more than 650 customers trust the Docker Enterprise platform to manage a wide variety of mission-critical applications. Companies like Bosch, like Jabil, Mizuho, and GSK, as well as public sector organizations such as Finnish Railways, the Dutch Ministry of Justice, and the Italian government. Each quarter, 100 new customers join our customers, those 650, by trusting the Docker container platform for their mission-critical applications. Throughout the conference, you're going to be hearing from these companies on how they're using Docker to drive digital transformation within their organization. On behalf of everyone at Docker, I want to thank them for their partnership. I want to thank them for the trust that they put in our company. And we're very grateful that you're choosing to share your stories here at DockerCon. So you might ask yourself, what's driving the need for digital transformation? Okay. What's driving the need for a next-generation distributed computing platform? Well, we've all heard the phrase that software is eating the world, and data is the new oil. So what does that mean? Well, in order to compete, in our view, in order to innovate faster, to better serve your customers, and frankly, in order to stay relevant, we believe that every company not only has to become a software company, they're going to become a software company. Every company is going to go through a massive digital transformation. And here's what's amazing. Each of you, the people in this room, the people online, you're at the heart of that change. Today, there are roughly 16 million professional developers worldwide. In the next couple of decades, that number is going to be 160 million. Right? Software developers will become part of the economic engine of every company in the world. So let me give you a few examples. I sit on the board of a bank in the United States. Even as it grows faster than its competitors, it's seeing parts of its business, frankly, come under attack from non-traditional competitors. Home mortgages, right? We all know what home mortgages are. They've historically been the domain of banks. Well, today, real estate search engines like Zillow, okay, are offering mortgages. Zillow is able to offer a highly tailored mortgage while and where the customer is actually looking for a home. Frankly, they benefit from a rich data set and from a very large user community. Software companies that offer accounting and financial planning applications are now offering financial services, such as credit cards and inventory financing. Frankly, with a benefit that most banks don't have. They have real-time understanding of the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement of their customers. Okay? The digital transformations that we're seeing and that we will see in the years ahead will change the nature of every single business. And as I said before, you, the developer, are at the heart of that transformation. This is an exciting place to be. Over the past 40 years, we've seen software innovation be largely the domain of technology companies. Over the next 40 years, software innovation, you're going to see more software innovation coming from the other 85% of the economy than you've seen from traditional software companies. From all of you that are sitting here in this room that are driving digital transformations within your companies. So, companies that have succeeded in digitally transforming their business happen to share some common attributes, and I'd like to walk through that with you. The first is that they leverage their unique assets, those things that are fundamental to their business and only their business. Second, they deliver a delightful and comprehensive user experience. And third, they transform their business models. It's rare, by the way, that that's a serial process. What we're finding instead is that it's iterative, it's dynamic. Not just because you can learn faster, but frankly so that you can actually go execute faster and deliver those innovations faster. The unique assets of a business are often captured in the legacy applications and the data that run most companies. Whether those systems are the systems that transfer money instantaneously, or they process insurance claims, or they execute stock transactions, or they approve loans. These systems have critical data that while very unique, it's often siloed and it's not well integrated. Each of these systems can be given modern attributes, such as improved security, portability, and frankly, radically improving the innovation cycles even of legacy applications. By doing so, you can harness the assets that are unique to your company. But in order to compete, that isn't good enough. Okay? It isn't good enough just to modernize legacy systems. You have to innovate to deliver new solutions on top of those legacy environments. Solutions that can not only leverage that set of information, but frankly deliver new experiences. In fact, we believe that every company has to get to a model where it can innovate in real time and where it can deliver that innovation in real time. It isn't good enough just to innovate. You have to go deliver that. Because innovation is no longer counted in finite releases. It's not 1, 2, or 3 releases that you see a year. It's a continuous improvement cycle. It's every interaction that I have with you. Customer relationships are no longer based on years of loyalty. They're also based on the experiences that can be measured literally in seconds. So the standard for a delightful customer experience is simply higher, right? How fast can you innovate? How well do you understand my relationship with you and what my needs are? How well can you serve me in every single interaction? And how well do you protect and respect the privacy of my data? That's a really big one. Okay? Of course, this is easy to say. For a guy like me to stand up here and tell you about this is what we got to do, it's easy to say. is really hard to do. It requires new tools. It requires new processes, and frankly, a brand new mindset. But companies that embrace digital transformation are not just thriving in their core businesses, they're expanding into new business opportunities. Netflix happens to be a great example of digital transformation. We all know that Netflix started out as a DVD delivery business. Its very first business transformation was turning itself into a streaming media business. Today, it's not just a distribution vehicle for content. Driven by how well they understand each of us, our viewing patterns, all, of course, which was built over time, they've once again transformed their business to be able to create new content. Content that is exactly what our viewers want, what their viewers want. In every single transformation, they leverage their existing systems and their understanding of the customer, while innovating in near real time to deliver new solutions and add to their business model. What's interesting about Netflix is this. It's been used as an example of digital transformation for the last 5 years. But every single time, it's around a new level of transformation. At times, that transformation replaced their legacy business, and at times, it added to their business model. But it's not just Netflix. There are obviously many compelling examples. One of them happens to be a customer of Docker, an insurance company. It's developing machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms to actually, frankly, embed in sensors in devices like refrigerators and air conditioners and heaters and ovens and the like, so they can understand how frequently those devices are being used, what the failure points are, and frankly, to deliver predictive maintenance. The lesson here is very simple. No matter the example, the lesson is very, very simple. Transform or become irrelevant. Those are our choices. Transform or become irrelevant. I think we all know the path we'd like to choose. It's clear that any kind of digital transformation is going to require a next-generation distributed computing platform that can run any kind of application on any infrastructure, so that you can interact with your customer in a multitude of ways, connecting each transaction with every other transaction, while providing, frankly, a seamless experience from development to deployment to the management of those applications in a process that's repeatable, that's scalable, and that's secure. That, by the way, is our mission in life: to deliver the world's best container platform so we can unleash innovation on a global basis. That's what we live for. Look, as we think about how to continue to expand the Docker platform and lead in our market, it's important to define our ethos, right? The core principles that govern how Docker is going to build products and how it's going to serve you. For Docker, that ethos is anchored in 3 simple concepts, and these concepts are rooted in our corporate values. 3 simple words: choice, agility, and security. That's it. The choice to build your applications in any language, on any stack, in any architecture, and run those applications wherever you want, whether that's in your data center or any combination of public clouds or all the way out to the edge of the network. To allow your data to exist where you want it to exist, and to be able to manage all of that with a few simple clicks or business rules. Our focus on agility is to provide tools and integration that enables innovation to become as real-time as you want it to be, allowing you to dramatically compress innovation cycles for legacy apps, and to deliver new apps as often as you wish. But agility is also about enabling seamless collaboration across your teams, across your company, and across your partners. Experiences are no longer confined to just one company. And by the way, agility is also about taking that process from development all the way through to operations. It's one integrated process. Okay? And in an era where everything will have a digital equivalent, right? A digital representation. Security has to become a basic digital right We have to know everything about the applications and the components that we're running. We have to provide tools that govern how the data that you create is used, where it can live, and for how long. Security is woven into every element of Docker's products, from the engine to the management of the entire software supply chain. That's our promise to you, by the way. That's what guides our innovations, and that's what guides how we serve you. And frankly, we believe this is why Forrester has ranked Docker as a leading enterprise container platform in its first ever New Wave report. So, how do you drive digital transformation at one of the world's best known brands? And how do you continue to raise the bar at a company that has helped shape the economic development of businesses across Europe for the last 150 years? Let's find out, shall we? Please join me in welcoming to the stage the global CTO of Societe Generale, Carlos Goncalves. Carlos? How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Come on. Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you.
So, Carlos, I really enjoyed our day together at your annual technology summit.
Yeah.
So thank you for that invitation, and thank you for joining us here at DockerCon.
Thank you.
So obviously, we've all heard of Societe Generale, but maybe just to give the audience a little bit of context, maybe you can tell us some more detail on the company.
Yeah. Yeah, Societe Generale is well known as being one of the biggest or largest European banks, mainly on, you may know it on retail banking in France with three big brands, Societe Generale Retail Banking, Crédit du Nord, Boursorama, which is one of the biggest online bank in France. But we have as well a big presence worldwide, so on the wholesale, we are one of the biggest wholesale banks as well, capital markets, financing, all of that. But we have a big presence as well on retail banking outside of France. So, for instance, Rosbank in Russia, the biggest non-state bank is French, actually, Societe Generale. In Czech Republic, KB, Romania, BRD. And in Africa, actually, we are investing a lot. A lot of banks in all the small countries. So, big bank, as well on the financial services, car leasing, there is a good chance that if you lease a car, it's a Societe Generale car. We are the biggest one in Europe, number 3 in the world, because number 3 in EMEA, in the United States. Insurance, so again, a very large diversity, broad-based, yeah. 76 countries, 30 million clients only on the banking side, and 150,000 employees, so quite large institution. Yeah.
You know, at your tech conference, I was impressed that you brought your entire management team in, and the CEO of the company. Yeah. And you spent, your CEO outlined the vision for the company over the next 5 years around digital transformation. Mm-hmm. Can you share a little bit about what does digital transformation mean at Societe Generale, and what are you focused on?
Probably, as many of you, we are seeing how the clients are completely changing the way they consume the service. So digital transformation actually is about clients first, right? So, and within Societe Generale, we put that client in the center of all the thinking. And when you think about it, it starts by the client change completely the behaviors, the way he consumes our services, financial services, banking services. And it's the question of anytime, anywhere, any device. He expects you to know what he requires, what are the services. So he requires to understand precisely in the specific moments of his life, when you want to buy a new car, when you buy to buy a new house. He expects you to be there and serve him with the right services. So understanding the client and being able to provide the right service at the right moment is important. So trust is important, and anticipating the needs is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you one more question. When you look out over the next 5 years, what's the biggest single area of innovation that you're focused on, or at least the top areas of innovation?
At the top, of course, as many of us, we aim at having 80% of our infrastructure in the cloud, which is relatively good, but for a large institution like ours, and we do it transversally for the whole company, it's quite big. Yeah. Docker is, by the way, I mean, we are early adopters of Docker, and you were saying this morning, rightly, this is a simple idea that, by the way, changes your life. So it changes our life. So really, thank you for Docker.
Thank you.
But more than that, I mean, on top of it, I would say the data, as many of us, is investing a lot, understanding the client, and we are giving some examples. It's important, but I would say that all of that, we know it. AI, everybody is putting money on it. But probably the most important thing is how you combine all that digital stuff with the human part. I mean, you understand precisely your client, and that relationship between our advisors, our expertise, and bringing to you at the right time, the right expert that helps you doing the right deal.
Yeah. You know, Carlos, one of the things you said at your conference, it really took me by surprise. But I think it speaks to the leadership you and the team are driving at Societe Generale. Carlos mentioned at his conference that Societe Generale is looking at open sourcing some of its components. That took me by surprise. Help me understand why you're thinking about that. Not necessarily which ones you're going to open source, but why you're thinking about that. Why is that important?
Actually, I mean, when you look at the size of the transformation we are going through, actually it's impossible to do it alone, right? And when you look at innovation, I mean, a lot of what's happening is on the open source part. And you guys have contributed a lot. We are taking a lot from the open source community. Talents expect us to leverage on open source. And just a given. I mean, and somehow we are taking so much from that community that at one point our developers are getting say, hey, we need to contribute. Okay, so yeah, we believe that to keep the right guys and to create, I mean, to get that community working properly, we need as well to contribute. And at the same time, when you look at the size of the challenge we have, we need to open our platform so that the best ideas can get in quickly. Yeah. And speed matters.
It sure does. My friend, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for making time out of your day to come out and share your thoughts with our team.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah. Everyone, please, warm welcome for Carlos. Thank you. So, as you just heard from Carlos, and frankly, as we're seeing across all of our customers, leveraging the unique assets of your company, those legacy applications, legacy data, is a critical part of digital transformation. So how do you modernize these legacy applications? Okay? So let us show you with our first demo of DockerCon. But before, I'm going to just go ahead and move this. Before I invite Elton and Lee to the stage, there's a long-standing tradition that I want to honor. Right? It's an appeal to the demo gods. You're probably wondering what I'm going to do. I want to borrow from a Spanish tradition, a long-standing Spanish tradition. Las 12 uvas de la suerte. To all my Spanish friends, by the way, I apologize if I butchered your language. Las 12 uvas de la suerte means the 12 grapes of luck. It's a Spanish tradition that dates back to at least 1895 and is a way of welcoming the new year. So with that, please join me in welcoming Elton Stolman and Lee Namba to the stage.
Hey, I'm Lee. I'm a developer here.
Hi, I'm Elton. I work for Docker. I'm here to do your Windows container demo.
Okay. Oh, Docker. Hey, do you have any stickers?
Yeah, I got some for you. So is this your desk?
Yep, this is it. We can set up right here.
Okay, cool. Hey, this looks important.
Oh yeah. That's a fax that my boss sends me every single day. Let's see. Here we go. Just heard Windows Server 2008 is going out of support in 12 months. That means our pet store app will have no more security patches. I don't want our 500 million users' data getting hacked.
Right, yeah. You don't want to send out one of those emails. We value our users and understand the importance of protecting personal information, but
Oh, man. He says I've got to update our core business app to the latest version of Windows Server ASAP. It only got released last week. Sorry, Elton, I'm going to have to skip your demo.
Well, my demo was all about taking a legacy application and modernizing it with Docker and running on the latest version of Windows Server. So why don't we just do that with your app?
Sure. We can use this machine.
OK, great. So your app is an IIS website, I guess. Is this it here, Pet Shop Web?
Yep, that's it. Pet Shop is our main business app, our web store.
Cool. Is this a .NET 2 application?
Elton, come on. .NET 2, that's old. This is a .NET 3.5 app, completely redone in 2008. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a legacy application.
OK, well, I mean, I've modernized older apps than that, so that's fine. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we need to move this to a Docker container. That will take care of upgrading it to Windows Server 2019, and it means we can run it anywhere, in the data center or any cloud. To do that, I'm going to use Docker Application Converter, which is a tool we've got, which will do all that for me. So I'm just going to run DAC discover on your C drive, and that's going to get all your apps that's running on here. So there, let's find these 3 applications.
OK, yes, Pet Shop Web. That's our main application. And I also see Pet Shop Web Service. That's an API that I wrote, but provisioning servers and deploying it to all those environments, it just took too much time.
Well, maybe we can do something with that later. We'll just do the Pet Shop Web app for now. So look, here's the content that the application converter generated. Here's the Docker file. Oh, Notepad.
Oh, I love Notepad.
Who doesn't love Notepad? So we can see here, look, the tools recognize this was an ASP.NET 3.5 app, and it's going to run it on a Windows Server 2019 image. And then these lines here, they just set up your website using PowerShell, and then copy in the content that the tools pulled out of your existing machine.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. So we can automate this to Dockerize all your apps across all your servers. But we'll just do this one for now. So I need a Windows Server 2019 machine where I can build this Docker file.
OK, yeah, I already have a Windows 2019 provisioned. Let me find it here.
This it?
Yep, that's it.
OK, cool. So here's all the stuff from the Docker application converter. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run Docker image build. And that's going to go through the Docker file and package everything up so we can run it in a Docker container. And I'm going to run Docker image push and push this to your Docker Enterprise Trusted Registry.
OK, so hang on. Let me get this. What you just did is took our legacy application, you automatically converted it, and you built an image, and then you pushed it to our existing Docker registry.
That's right, yeah.
OK, but we have a Linux Docker Enterprise cluster.
OK.
And a Windows image. Can we take that Windows image and run it on our Linux cluster?
No, you have to run a Windows container on Windows Server. It has to be Windows all the way down. But you can, in your Docker Enterprise cluster, you can have a mixture of Windows and Linux machines in the same cluster. So all I need to do is add this to your existing cluster. Can you show me your universal control plane?
Yep, I think it's right here.
OK, cool. So here on the home page, I can click Add Nodes. And it will give me this special command line with a secret token that I can use to join your node to the cluster. So I'll just run this here. And that's it. So now your cluster is a mixture of Linux and Windows servers.
Oh, OK. So what else do we have to do now?
So what we need to do now is we need a Docker Compose file where we can deploy this app, something like this, which will take the image that we've just built and we'll run it on your cluster. This little bit here, so it's a standard Docker Compose format, but this bit here says this is a Windows image. We should run it on one of our Windows nodes.
OK.
OK, cool. So do you want to deploy this?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Cool. So just copy and paste that onto the clipboard.
OK. Control A, Control C.
And then if we go back to UCP.
Right there?
Yeah, close this down.
OK. Escape.
And then you're going to go to Shared Resources.
All right.
And Stacks. A stack is just a collection of containers that make your application. Go to Create Stack.
Right there.
We can call this Pet Shop Dev.
All right, Pet Shop Dev.
And then Next.
All right.
And then we're just going to paste in that compose.
OK.
Click Create, and we're going to be good.
OK, cool. Oh, shoot, I forgot to take screenshots. I need to paste all of this into a Word doc so the operations team, they can deploy this too.
No. There isn't going to be a Word document with screenshots. The Docker file and the Docker Compose file, they are the deployment documents. You can do all this from the command line, so you can automate the whole thing.
Oh, that's a great idea. All right, so it says it's done.
OK, cool. So let's open a new tab and browse to your site. Well, it's a bit slow, isn't it?
It is a 10-year-old, application.
Yeah, OK, so I suppose it's firing up. Oh, there we go. Cool.
Okay.
So here it is. Here's your 10-year-old application running on the latest version of Windows Server in Docker Enterprise.
OK, awesome. All right, can I do a quick smoke test here?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let me see. OK, we have birds. That work? OK, cool. We've got some bugs. Oh, that works too. OK, but before we go live with this, we're going to need to provision, a bunch of environments. I'm going to need a UAT environment. I'm going to need a performance environment. Oh, and the security auditing team, they're going to want to do some penetration testing. So, what do we need to do for that?
You can run all those environments on your existing cluster. You don't need any more machines. So look, if I go back to my compose file, and if I use a different port, then I can deploy this as a completely separate stack on your existing cluster. So here we go. Look, back to UCP. And I'll click Create Stack. I'll call this Pet Shop UAT. Let's take the Y out. Click on Next, paste this in, and that's going to create your UAT environment. And that's going to be all the testers need to know is that they've got a different URL to use.
OK, that was fast. But in our UAT environment, we run it across 5 different servers.
Well, that's fine. We can run this across 5 containers. So look, if we open up the service here, where's our Pet Shop UAT? So it's just one container at the moment. But if I click Configure and go to Scheduling, I can scale up to 5, hit Save, and this is going to spin up 5 containers.
OK, 5 containers. But I didn't see you add any more servers. Where are these containers running?
Yeah, all these containers are running on your same Windows Server.
OK.
So Windows Server 2019 containers are so lightweight, you can run dozens on a single machine.
So do we have to pay for those dozens of licenses?
No, you only need one Windows license for the server, and then you can run as many containers as you like.
OK, so let me get this straight. Use the tool to migrate our app from Windows Server 2008 to 2019 without any code changes. So we've got like 11 years of security patches all in one go.
Yeah, that's right.
And we can have multiple environments in one Docker Enterprise cluster using one set of Windows servers?
Yep.
Hey, we can decommission some servers. Wow, you just came in here to do a demo, and you ended up saving us a fortune.
Hey, happy to help. Do you want to reply to this fax and tell your boss the good news?
Let's do it.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Elton. Even older applications can be given modern properties with Docker. It's fundamentally about leaving no application behind, especially the critical applications that differentiate and run your business. So we're seeing incredible interest, by the way, from customers around taking their legacy applications and modernizing them using Docker. And frankly, a lot of that's being driven by end-of-life support for Windows Server 2008. They're using this opportunity to start their migration to an enterprise container platform to both reduce the cost of their infrastructure and to get more value out of their legacy applications. So apparently there's value in being old. At least that's what I tell myself every morning. Right? You have experience, you have knowledge, you have history. But that's not enough. You have to put that knowledge to use. Modernizing is about more than just giving your applications new capabilities. It's about unlocking the potential, the history that's embedded deep in the application within the data, to leverage that data to build new experiences. So I'm very excited about Docker's latest partnership with Salesforce.com and MuleSoft. To talk more about that, I want to welcome to the stage a friend of the company, Raj Mistry, the head of MuleSoft EMEA. Raj? Hello, my friend.
Thank you.
Don't forget your grape.
I'm definitely going to help myself to one of these grapes. It worked for the demo gods.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm well.
You need a second?
A little bit. These are big grapes.
So Raj, before we get started, I want to share a quick story. When Salesforce bought MuleSoft, I had a chance to call Mark and just said, hey, look, fantastic deal. It makes sense for Docker and MuleSoft to work together. And I was going to walk Mark through the reasons on why, right? He cut me off. He said, Steve, I get it. It makes perfect sense to work together. Let's make this partnership happen. And a couple of months later, we were able to announce the relationship. So we're very excited about this. And as much as we know about MuleSoft, and I'm sure several people in the audience do, I think it'd be helpful if you shared a little bit about MuleSoft and the solutions that you deliver to customers.
Sure. After 12 years of working for Mark, I can understand, that's exactly his style. He's actually probably one of the most visionary CEOs I've ever worked for. I think, as I say, people can see around corners. He's one of those guys.
Amen.
So what exactly is MuleSoft? Well, MuleSoft actually shares some of the same open source DNA that Docker does, and it grew up in that environment. But here we are now, kind of 1,500 plus enterprise-wide customers, working with some of the largest SIs that there are, to do one thing. MuleSoft's mission is all about allowing companies to change and innovate faster by connecting the world's applications, data, and devices. So exactly what the guys were showing there, the world is changing significantly around us. The way we did IT before isn't the way that we can do IT now. And so MuleSoft does three things. It provides a full API management lifecycle platform. It allows you to enable connectivity from any system, any data, any application, and any device. And then finally, it allows you to, it has an orchestration platform, so it allows you to transform data using APIs and drive to that transformation and also the automation of tasks.
So where do you see customers engaging today around digital transformation with MuleSoft? I mean, is it the early stages? Are you seeing a lot of demand for data integration?
It's actually very, very early stages. And I think, as Carlos mentioned, our demand as consumers around wanting personalization and specialization of these products and services is driving companies to do everything they do differently. Well, if everything that they do has to be done differently and has to be done in a faster, more agile way, the IT approach that we've been using for the last 2 decades or so isn't working.
Yeah.
So what companies have been doing is kind of talking to us as MuleSoft and saying, okay, what do we do? How do we unlock all this data, all this rich processing data that we've created over the last 2 or 3 decades that we know is very relevant? How do we unlock it now so that we can actually use it in a much more efficient and effective manner internally? But also more importantly, how do we externalize this? Because no longer can we deliver everything that customers want.
Yeah.
We have to work more effectively in open ecosystems.
Yeah.
So again, how do we use this kind of notion of APIs, application networks to drive that efficiency, that effectiveness, drive that innovation really, both internally and externally?
So let's maybe turn to a couple of customers. So obviously the customer experience is no longer what it used to be, right? It spans multiple companies. It spans multiple interactions.
Yeah.
How do you see our partnership helping customers? Are there a couple of examples that we can speak to?
Yeah. So we're working with companies all the way from the Airbuses, a lot of the financial services institutions, all the way through to the Teslas. Now you take the perspectives. You can have greenfield organizations that have the luxury of using new platforms straight away, but then you've got many, many customers out there who have incredible data and assets. Now, unlocking that, moving it to environments where they can actually drive speed and agility. This is where we're seeing a lot of interest from companies with Docker and MuleSoft. But also, more importantly, other than just driving that efficiency and effectiveness, they're also looking at future-proofing. As you talked about, working on any platform, on any environment, connecting any device, the future is very, very uncertain. And I think a lot of companies are looking to us and saying, look, you have this open source DNA, you have this kind of way of looking at things differently. How do you help us also future-proof? Because we don't know what's coming around the corner.
Fantastic. Look, I'm really excited about this partnership, especially in the last day as you and I have gotten to know each other. This seems to be an unbelievable amount of opportunity. Thank you for joining us here at DockerCon.
Brilliant. Well, look, thanks for inviting me.
Thanks so much, Raj.
Cheers, Steve.
So look, that's fantastic, and this is exciting, right? And as much as Raj and I would love to continue to talk to you about more about our relationship, I think it's time for the folks from MuleSoft and Docker to come on out and show you what's possible in the integration of MuleSoft and Docker. So let's bring Patrick and Darren to the stage.
Good morning. Those are big grapes.
Yeah, they're good.
I'm Darren. I'm from MuleSoft. This is Patrick. He's from Docker. Now that you know that, I want you to immediately forget it, because we're going to have a different role today. We're playing the part of two developers for a company called Big Store. It's a fictional company. It's a typical retail store, kind of like a Carrefour. They're really traditional in the ways that they want to innovate faster. They want to create new experiences, new channels to market, engagement with customers in a better way. So really, it's a question of agility. And an agile business requires an agile architecture. An agile architecture, arguably, it can be done today with microservices. And so that's what Patrick and I are here to do. We're about to create some microservices from both the technical perspective and from a business perspective. And this is a journey. Microservices are a series of moments, small moment, maybe micro moments. So it's not a point in time. So what we've done is we've recorded some of the most important parts. And this afternoon, we're going to go into a deep dive of all of the other pieces of it. So if you'd like to join our deep dive workshop this afternoon, you'll get into the nitty-gritty details of some of the points that we brought out. What are those points that we're going to bring out today, though? These are really the main inflection points on our journey. First, we're going to start off with a proper design. The 12-factor apps, all of those things about the proper microservices tenants, we're going to do that end to end, and we're going to think about the design long before we do the implementation. The implementation and the deployment will come next. Then the world becomes a little bit messier. The world is never a clean place. So we're going to be introduced with the challenge of this legacy application we have to somehow fit into our environment. And then we're going to create some experiences. We're going to happen to create an Apple Watch experience. And so that will consume all of our microservices. So that's our journey. What are the tasks at hand? Really, that's my application. That's our application. That's Big Store. He's a monolith. He's got lots of different functions, billing, orders, purchases. We're going to start to peel off some of the core domains from our monolith so we can build them out with some microservices. So we follow the MuleSoft approach to do that. We're going to take a project-by-project approach. In this case, we're going to start with product inventory. We're going to design that, and then we're going to implement it. We're going to actually implement it with Docker Desktop, and we're going to front that with a Mule proxy, but more on that in a little bit. Now, when you scale innovation, it's always about reuse. Reusing assets that you have. Why do I need to reinvent the wheel every single time if I can find and discover an asset? So that's the very, very first question I'm going to ask. Do I have an asset that I can consume and reuse to bootstrap my innovation? And great if I do, and if not, maybe I can create a reusable asset to help somebody else in the future to bootstrap their own innovation. We do that discovery and consumption in something called the MuleSoft Anypoint Exchange. The Anypoint Exchange is kind of like an app store of all of the different connectivity. Here you'll actually see some of that. You'll see all kinds of different assets and resources. I'm not interested in any of these right now. Right now, I'm really just worried about this one thing I have to do with product inventory. I find this thing for retail business. This has got a lot of the assets that I might need. Order management, accounts payable, those sorts of things. But I am still looking just for that product API, and I do find something. This is a specification. I can see the verbs, nouns, resources, examples. I could even try it with a mocking service, and Patrick and I can talk about it and say, hey, does this solve our business problem? Does this solve our need? Do we want to iterate on it? I think Patrick and I agree. I think we agree. Yeah. This one's pretty good. So this is the one we're going to use. And so this is where we start the implementation of that API specification.
Let's do that. Thank you, Darren. So the next stage, what I'm going to show you is how the API-first methodology with all the MuleSoft tooling for defining your API marries really well with Docker Desktop. So how many Docker Desktop users in the room today? All right. Yeah, so we have a good half of the room. You're not alone. There's at least millions of developers out there who are using Docker Desktop to build their microservices. So the advantage of Docker Desktop is that it lets you use the best tool for the job. So here, Darren defined the API in a language called RAML, where there's a formal definition for the API. And I'm going to implement it in Python using Python 3. So here I can look at the RAML. I see the path I need to implement. I can copy some JSON for the data structure I need to return. I use Docker Desktop. So here I show you that I'm having the latest version of Docker Desktop with Engine 1809, Compose, and Kubernetes. The next stage is I'm going to implement it in Python 3, so I fire Visual Studio Code and start to build my Python application. I'm going to use the oldest store in the history of computer science, which is just serving from a file. So I just go to a static file where I paste the JSON that's coming from the RAML definition. And then I can go back to start coding my app. Here, I'm going to use Redis as a cache. And so when I implement the logic, I implement a route for /products. When people do a get on that, I'm checking if it's in the Redis store. If it's there, I'm serving from it, and I log that, because I want to check that the cache is hit. Else, I'm just serving it from a file, and I load the store. Once I've done that, I don't need to install Python on my local machine. I can create a Docker file. So that's my next step. I'm going to create a Docker file that's inheriting from Python 3.6 Alpine. I copy my requirements.txt. I do a pip install in one layer. And then I copy my app.py on my static file in another layer. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to create a Docker Compose file where I have Redis and then my application. Where I do a port mapping, port 80 to port 5000. And once I'm done with this, I can start testing it. So I'm going to build it with Docker Compose build. So that's going to build the Python container for my application. And then in the next stage, I'm going to do a Docker Compose up once that build is finished in order to start Redis, start my Python application, and then I can go to a terminal to curl on localhost /products. I verify that it's served from the file, and there's nothing in the logs. So that was the first call. Then I do a second call, and I go to see that in the logs I have a cache hit. So here what I have done is that I have implemented that microservice very quickly. Once I'm done with that, I can push it to DTR, Docker Trusted Registry. Then I push it to my Docker Enterprise Edition cluster. Actually, I'm using the same one that Elton showed you before. And then I pass that URL to Darren. And while Darren is doing the rest of it, I'm going to eat more grapes.
Be
Go
careful.
for it, Darren.
Those ones don't have seeds, so we're OK. That was awesome. Thank you. So where are we? So we've got a specification. We've agreed to the specification. I'm coding my mules. He's coding his Docker desktop application. And we've got this thing. So we have to onboard this onto a platform. There's this old joke, an API walks into a bar and doesn't do anything. So you have to bring it to something else, right? So we're going to start to create some of these other experiences. So what does that look like? Well, I'm going to build a tiered architecture here. So that tiered architecture is going to serve a couple of different functions. That system of record, that product API at the bottom there, that's the one that Patrick just implemented. I'm going to front that with a mule proxy. That mule proxy, I can do lots of things with that mule proxy. I can deploy security. I can do transformations, whatever I want to do. But at this point, I'm simply unlocking that system of record from the underlying implementation. Then I'm going to move up to the process API. What do I do in the process API? That's where I start to do business logic. I start to do data cleansing, normalization. That's actually going to become really important pretty soon. And then I have an experience API. That experience API is how I start to create experiences like the mobile app or my watch application that I'll show you. Each of these at a different level allows me to maximize my reuse, to create anti-corruption layers, and ultimately to be really, really agile. So that agility actually comes in pretty handy because Right now, I'm receiving a phone call from about 30 minutes ago, so we're time traveling, and Elton tells me, hey, I've just modernized some app. I've containerized it, it's a SOAP service, and our boss now wants to integrate all of that inventory between that existing system of record, the one that Patrick just implemented, and Elton's system of record now. And so normally, that would be a pretty heavy lift. That would be a lot of work to do that, but not in this architecture. Really, all he has to hand me is that SOAP service. How do I bring that on to my elegant microservices environment and aggregate that inventory? I'm simply going to put a proxy in front of that as well. I'll do a SOAP to REST transformation, and that's pretty simple, and I'll show you that. And then I'm going to bring in that aggregated result, because they have the same specifications now, with a simple multiple call from that process API. I go to my existing system of record, my new system of record. I bring those systems together. I normalize it, cleanse it, whatever I need to do. Nothing above that changes. My experience don't change. None of my underlying implementations below that change. So I'm really creating the most agility. So we're going to do this in 2 phases. This is the first phase. This is the system of record. This is Anypoint Studio. This is where I create the experiences. In this case, this is the system API. I'm doing an HTTP call into that system of record, and I'm doing a route back. So I do my RESTful call in and the route to Patrick's implementation. I do all of my APIs in exactly the same way, and I've checked them into GitHub. Within GitHub, I've got a Jenkins pipeline hook that'll ultimately do the deployment. So if I log into the Anypoint platform and I kick off my Jenkins pipeline, I'll start to see that deployment happen. You'll see the system API, that's wiring itself to Patrick's implementation, the process API, and the experience API. I can go into a RESTful client. I'm going to choose the top experience API as my test API. I'm going to hit send. That is traversing all of that network and hitting Patrick's original system of record. So you'll see that. So now here's where the complexity comes in with SOAP services. How do I build that? There's two more APIs that I have to really worry about. That SOAP to REST transformation, and I have to update that process API to do the aggregation across those. So here's that SOAP to REST transformation. It's pretty simple. I call the SOAP service, and then I just simply use a click and drag interface to map what I have to the contract of what I want. It's really as simple as that. So now the shape of my response is exactly as I would expect. The process API, instead of calling a single system of record, it is now calling 2 systems of record and doing the aggregation between them. So I present that back to the experience API. Of course, I check that all into GitHub and update my Jenkins file. That Jenkins pipeline gets kicked off, and all of those things get updated. Now I can go into the REST client again, and I can see originally I had chosen I've returned one result. Now you can see the aggregated result between that SOAP service that's been modernized and that original highly elegant designed API. So what could I do with that? Now I've got this experience. I've deployed an experience API. I've used some of the reusable assets to create a watch experience. So here's my watch experience. Hey, we've merged with a retail store. That's what I'm going to tell my customers. That retail pet store is now offering us a coupon to compel us to come into the store. Hey, I've got a whole list of inventory that's part of that aggregation of that merger. And that's really the experiences that we can create very, very quickly using this sort of approach.
Fantastic, Darren. I think you deserved another grape for that.
Thank you.
All right. So we just modernized a SOAP application. We merged the result with a REST result, and we end up with an experience in a watch. So what we just showed you there is really the basis of the partnership between Docker and MuleSoft, where we see the 2 paths. One from legacy modernization, where you have an existing application that's typically your system of record. You modernize it using Docker modernization of traditional application methodology and tools. You deploy that on Docker Enterprise Edition. And then you put some Mule proxies in front of it to modernize it and make it available in the application network. On the other side of the equation, you have you're building new microservices, and you're using the MuleSoft API-first design approach with all the MuleSoft tooling and methodology. And what we just showed you is how that marries really well with Docker Desktop. And then when you're putting that into production on Docker Enterprise Edition, where you can front all your containers with some mules that make these new microservices available in the application network. Once that's done, what you get is more observability, management, and security for your application. So Docker and MuleSoft as partners, what you get in terms of business outcome is speed of delivery, actionable visibility, secure by design, future-proof architecture, and intentional self-service. One thing I wanted to just add is while we built that demo, Darren and I and a whole team with Mano and Elton, we actually lived through that, which means Mano is based in San Francisco. He built the microservice in Python. Darren was based in New York, and he created the contracts for us in RAML. And Elton is based in England, and he did the modernization of that traditional app that's like a real app from 2008 that many .NET developers know. And to our surprise, at the end of it, it just worked. So that was a very fast approach of looking at the Docker and MuleSoft partnership. And if you want to know more, just come to our session at 5:25 today. We're going to do live demos, and we'll go into more of the details of the implementation of that. One even better thing to do, if you're a developer, just download Docker and MuleSoft, and all our code is on GitHub. You can reproduce all that yourself. Just do this at home. And then the last thing is, if you're an enterprise or a company and you want to do that kind of thing, just come see us. Darren and I tomorrow will do a set of 30 minutes whiteboarding sessions. You can sign up at that URL, and you just bring us your architecture. We'll explain how you can use Docker and MuleSoft together. Thanks very much.
Awesome.
Let's have some more grapes.
Yeah, seriously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Darren. I appreciate it. Thanks, Patrick. That was fantastic. And frankly, that's just the beginnings of the integration you're going to see between Docker and MuleSoft. So this morning, we've seen the value of modernizing legacy applications, enabling those applications to be portable across infrastructure, and radically improving security as well as innovation cycles. In the process of doing that, our customers are also dramatically reducing the application and infrastructure costs for those applications, often by as much as 50%. Now, through our partnership with MuleSoft, our customers can unlock the potential of all that data that's sitting in their legacy systems and connect it to new user experiences to drive a delightful customer experience. Now, both of these steps are critical components of digital transformation. But we also want to make it easy to build new apps that can add value on top of that legacy application stack, legacy data stack, and that, frankly, can work seamlessly across your entire customer experience. Now, today, Docker is being used to build amazing new applications, from making it easier to build and test software that sends highly specialized rockets into space to save the Earth from asteroids. Now, you may think that that's not being done. It's actually being done by NASA. To containerize data science models to help scientists process genome data to cure things like cancer and find gene-specific therapies. And to build secure applications for mortgages, credit checks, credit card payments, whether we're shopping online or at our favorite retailer. From what may seem like the mundane to the unbelievably extraordinary. Right? Developers around the world are working with the Docker container platform to transform how they build, ship, and run. Ideas that frankly change our lives. And I want to thank you all for that. Our commitment to you, as I've said before, is to provide a development experience that makes it easy for anyone to build applications and run them. One platform upon which you can build, ship, and run any application on any infrastructure. So I'd like to introduce our Chief Product Officer, Scott Johnston. Scott's going to come up on stage and talk to you about the next generation of application development. Scott?
Hola, Barcelona! Good to see you all. Who was here with us in 2015, Barcelona 2015? Excellent. Good to see you again. Good to see you again. And for whom is this their first DockerCon? Right on. Welcome. Everyone who's old folks, welcome the newbies. Glad that you're here. We're going to have a great week. Thank you for spending the time with us. You know, as Steve shared this morning, Mark Andreessen's observation that software is eating the world. And that's not a surprise for any of us in this room. And increasingly, outside this room, at the C-suite and in bricks and mortar businesses, they are also realizing that this change is afoot. In fact, a survey of 1,000 C-suite executives, they were asked, what are they seeing the impact of developers and applications on their business? And 69% of them said that they expected developers and applications to differentiate products and services that they are offering in the marketplace versus their competition. Another 70% said that they expected developers and apps to have a major impact on increasing sales of their products. And 71% said that they see developers and apps enabling their businesses, bricks and mortar or otherwise, helping them bring products to market faster. Okay, let's make this real. Let's take a look at how developers and new applications can have a dramatic effect on a bricks and mortar retail business. And in this case, we're going to take a look at Desigual, a fashion clothing designer headquartered right here in Barcelona. Now, Desigual is known for its edgy and fun designs, and since its founding in 1984, it has quickly grown into a successful global brand. But with the growth of online shopping and the growing fickleness of consumers, bricks and mortar retail is a tough business. In fact, those feet that are going in the door, we're seeing annual declines of foot traffic of 16%. And those that do come in the door are seized with an immediate gratification mentality of see now, buy now, wear now. So much so that almost 1 in 6 of them expect and demand to wear the item that they bought the very same day. So seeing these trends, Desigual sought to level up its consumer experience in the stores. They had to up their game. And who'd they turn to? They turned to their developers to build a new application to dramatically improve the in-store experience. But they faced some challenges. First up, it was taking at least 2 weeks to provision environments for those developers to run their code. 2 weeks from zero. On top of that, they had to manage not one, but 2 application stacks. The point of sales in the store was speaking .NET Windows, and the back end was speaking Java. And if that wasn't enough, they had to build this new application such that it could be deployable, such that it was a hybrid app that was deployable to both their VM infrastructure in the data center as well as to their AWS infrastructure in the public cloud. But they were up to the task. And so let's see how they addressed these challenges, built a new app that dramatically changed the customer experience in the store. Let's take a look.
Desigual is a Barcelona-based brand. We commercialize unique garments, and moreover, we provide color, fun, and emotions to people in about 100 countries all around the world. Our goal with Assistant Shopping is granting the best shopping experience to our customers, as they care more about brands than about channels.
In just 5 months, we had to coordinate several teams across the company to implement 3 tools at once to build the full assisted shopping experience.
When we started building assisted shopping, we decided to start from scratch with microservices and containers. So we required a container management platform that was enterprise ready for us. Since we also develop both in Java and Windows.NET, we needed a platform that supported these two worlds. Selecting Docker Enterprise was a big architecture decision we made, mainly because it aligns perfectly with our cloud strategy model. Also, multi-orchestrator support allowing us to deploy both Kubernetes and Swarm were key advantages that made Docker Enterprise the right choice for us.
Since implementation of the in-store shopping assistant, the customer experience in our stores has been significantly improved. Right now, the application is up and running around 100 stores. Mainly, we are focused on Europe, but we plan to roll it out to the rest of the world over the coming next year.
It has changed how we work for the better. The dev team and ops team work collaboratively now and focus on the goal of each project, rather than all the small details of the infrastructure requirements. We can deliver new applications or functionality much faster. With Docker, we are able to create a better customer experience online in our stores and continually improve on that.
How about that? Right? Was that cool? We saw how the Docker platform enabled Desigual to deliver a new app that radically improved the customer in-store experience. Through first, enabling them to deploy not in weeks, but provisioned infrastructure to deploy apps in 5 minutes or less. Further, that infrastructure, end-to-end, could handle multiple applications. They gave their developers choice, Java and .NET. Moreover, they gave choice in terms of where they deployed. They could deploy the very same app to the on-prem infrastructure, VMware in the data center, as well as to Amazon in the cloud. And finally, they were able to radically reduce costs in deprovisioning underutilized servers and going with on-demand infrastructure. And they did so from a cold start in less than 6 months. They're here today. Guys, raise your hands. Let's have a round of applause for these guys, right? Now, to Dockerize these services for their application, the Desigual team had to manually build the Docker files and Docker Compose YAML from scratch, using their favorite editor, Vim, Emacs, Notepad, as well as the command line. And to be clear, lots of developers have been successful with just these tools. As Steve said earlier, we count over 3 million developers using Docker. But given the estimated 16 million developers in the world, how do we help the next 13 million use Docker? Well, you, our community, have given us a lot of great feedback on what else we can do to bring the Docker benefits of choice, agility, and security to others in your organization. First up, you've asked us to make it even easier to onboard those that are unfamiliar with Docker, or maybe those that haven't become Docker experts in all the command line switches, in all the Docker file commands. You're asking us to help you reduce the time to Docker, help reduce the time to when they're successful. Second is, you've asked us to give your teams even more flexibility, more choice in terms of application stacks, application frameworks, but to do so in a way that's safe for the organization. And finally, at the end of the day, it's all about results. It's all about shipping apps that have an impact. And those apps are a team effort between developers and operations. And so you've asked us to give more tools to help teams of developers and ops ship faster. It's probably not a surprise, but we've got some ideas on how to address this. We'd like to share those with you. Who's ready for another demo? Yeah? All right. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Gareth and Amin.
Got the blessing to the demo gods. Hi, you must be Amin, the tech lead. I'm Gareth. I'm the new developer here. Scott said I should come and pair with you today, as you know how everything works around here.
Oh, welcome to the team, Gareth. Yes, I've been here since we set all of this infrastructure up, and we've been using Docker since before it was cool.
Nice. OK, I've been asked to test out this application from one of the development teams.
Let's see what we have here. Pop into the POM file. OK, I see Java, Spring Boot, and Maven. So I'm not super familiar with Java tooling, but let's see what we can do. First off, you need a Docker file.
So I'm not familiar with Java either, actually, but I think there might be a quicker way. I saw this demo recently from a friend who works at Docker.
You have friends at Docker.
Yes. They're over there in that large crowd of people. Anyway, this new tool is called Docker Assemble. It builds Docker images for specific frameworks without any configuration. I'm pretty sure it supports Spring Boot and .NET Core. We're a Docker customer, right? We should have it installed already, I think. Yeah, let's have a look. Yep, looks like it's there.
Excellent. Let's look at the usage instructions. Looks very similar to Docker build. Now, where is this application you've been asked to test out?
I've got it checked out here, actually.
Perfect. Then let's try running Docker Assemble. Awesome. I can see that it's building the jar, copying it into place, and it looks like it's using the new BuildKit-powered builder in Docker Engine 1809. And it's not just providing more useful output, I think it's a lot faster as well.
Oh, nice. I hadn't had a chance to look at that. Sounds great.
OK, so the build is finished. It says here that the image is called Hello DockerCon. It's tagged as 1. Now, that looks like the information from the POM file. Seems like it auto-detected everything that it needed from the existing configuration. But now, did that create a Docker image?
Yeah. Well, let's have a look. Docker image ls. Hello DockerCon. Yeah. Yep. Looks like there's an image there. Oh, let's try run it as well. Oh. Yeah, I'll run it on port 8000.
Looks like it is running the application, but just to be sure, let's pop into the browser and check. Oh, it's up and running.
Yeah.
So that was so simple.
But I thought we were using Kubernetes here. We'll need to set up a Kubernetes cluster somewhere.
Well, we've got you covered. So we do have Docker for Desktop installed on all of our Mac and Windows 10 machines. So that means you have a local instance of Kubernetes and Swarm running. Let's actually give that a shot. Use kube control, run the image, hello DockerCon, and the tag and the port we want to run it on, 8080, and the name of the deployment. Oops, I believe there's an error. kubectl, there we go.
I can never get that right.
Anyway, that looks fine. Let's just maybe check. Oops. Looks like I can't get it right either. Perfect. So we see that there is the node, and I think we're all set. It works on Kubernetes as well.
Yeah, nice. Oh, so my friend at Docker showed me one other really neat new feature as well. So all of the Java dependencies and the system packages that went into that build are available as labels on the image. Like the data is stored as JSON, so I'll just grab JQ to pass it out. So Docker inspect, grab the labels, see what we've got.
Wow.
Whoa, that's loads of information. Yeah, I mean, that's all of the jars and all of the system packages, the specific versions, the digests, the version of Java, like loads of information there. That should make debugging really easy.
And that should also help with our audit and inventory work. So we built a tiny image without the need for writing any configuration. And on top of that, we got a bunch of cool extra features. That should save us a lot of time and effort. Good find, Gareth, and welcome again to the team.
It's applause, right? Applause. That's cool, right? So if you didn't catch that, a developer starting with nothing more than a Git repo of their application source code can use Docker Assemble to automatically detect the framework, build the app, expose the ports, create labels, add a health check, add a bill of materials of what's in every layer in the image, and finally, using best practices, optimizes the image size so you get lean, mean, tight images instead of bloat. Cool. And as a result, that's very cool. Thanks, boss. That's very cool. What's cool? Without writing a single line of Docker file or having to get into deep configuration entanglement, you can go from 0 to a Docker image in seconds. That's cool. Look, it's about helping others in your organization. All of us here are experts at Docker. God bless you, right? We're trying to get the next 13 million. And this is how you can help those next wave of people get started really quickly with Docker and Docker workflows. OK, you also saw our ability to provide a complete runtime of the Docker engine and certified Kubernetes, including the Kubernetes command line and APIs, on a developer laptop, installed, configured, and ready to go. This enables developers who are making updates to their application or to the Kubernetes YAML to test locally. It also eliminates works on my machine type finger pointing between dev and ops, which just slows everything down. OK, so now our team has automatically Dockerized their Java Spring Boot app. Let's see what they do next.
Well, now that we have a Docker image, I guess we should talk about how we want to deploy it. Now, I normally write a compose file, but we'll be working with Kubernetes, right?
Yes, but we can still use compose. Like, Docker has a Kubernetes API server which extends the Kubernetes API to add stacks. So that means we don't need to drop down to dealing directly with pods or deployments and the like. It should already be running in Docker Desktop.
Very cool. Let's give that a try. Now, I do have a handy compose file that you could use. Well, that's a compose file with 2 services. Do you think that would work?
Yeah, that should do. Let's give it a try. So we just use the docker stack deploy command, pass it the compose file, and give the application a name. I'll just call it my app for the moment.
Very original.
Oh. We're waiting for the stack to be stable and running. We might have a problem here. Let's see if I can find out what's going on. That should be good. The application is up and running. Excellent.
Perfect.
I think we should be able to have a look at it. Get stack my app. I don't know if it is up and running. Yeah, there. The application is up and running.
Awesome.
And we can see there that actually it's just a native Kubernetes object. Mm-hmm. It's a real stack just in Kubernetes. I think we're done. Let's stop the app.
So now that we've got this app up and running locally, I think we should somehow maybe talk about how we want to share it with our colleagues in operations. I feel like there are settings that they would want to change, and I just don't want them copying and pasting the configuration.
We could try out Docker App.
What's that?
Oh, so Docker App is a new tool designed to solve exactly that problem. You can package your application up, expose a set of parameters that can be modified when you install it, and then share it on Docker Hub or Docker Trusted Registry.
I'd like to have a look at the repository for that. Well, looks like it'll work with the compose file we were just looking at. And if we could do that, then maybe we can convert that into the application. Let's give that a try. Well, let's see if that did something. So I see a new directory in there. Let's cd into it. See what we have in there. Metadata.yaml. So let's go into the metadata file and maybe add a bunch of details so the operations team knows who maintains it, and maybe even add a brief description. OK. Now I'll add my name for now until the team gets to know you better. And a short description. Perfect.
You mentioned something that we wanted to enable the operations team to modify when they install the application.
Yes, I was thinking about the number of replicas.
That's a good idea. Well, let's start out by just adding a variable to our compose file. So we'll replace the hard-coded value with a variable, and we'll call it replicas. And we'll add a default value as well to the parameters file. I'll leave the default as 1 for the moment. So let's have a look at our application so far. Docker app inspect.
Are the replicas at 1 for default? OK. So now that's really handy. And anyone using this application now won't really need to look under the hood to understand what's going on. You can see from here what images are being used, what services are going to be launched, and what parameters to use to override default values. I know the ops team will love this. So now actually, let's try and install this app. It's taking a while.
I think that should be up and running, actually. I think there might be a bug in the code.
Let's do an app inspect.
Let's have a look. Docker app. Status, my app. Oh, no, the demo's failed. Apologies. We'll keep going.
So if you perhaps you could just pop back into, oops. Maybe if you could check your parameters again. I think you might not have saved it properly.
I don't think that's the problem. No.
OK.
So what we would have seen there is obviously the application being installed. And what we would also be able to do is upgrade the application to set the replicas to a different value. Unfortunately, that won't work here, but we'd do Docker app upgrade instead of install. And we'd be able to specify the name of the application and set the number of replicas equal to, for example, 3.
Perfect. So assuming we do have a nice application in here, I remember you said something about it being easier to share the application with others.
Yep. So we should be able to share the application on Docker Hub, basically just like you would do with a Docker image.
Well, then if it goes to Hub, then we can actually share it with others. And just like we do with all of our Docker files, Docker images currently in our existing workflows.
Let's give that a go. Docker app push namespace Gartha.
Perfect. It pushed to Docker Hub. So now anyone should be able to use it from here.
Yeah, let's give that a go. So Docker app inspect. Instead of just using the command will specify the thing. Oh, that doesn't look like it's working either, unfortunately. Apologies,
Did we
everyone.
have enough grapes, do you think?
I don't think we had enough grapes.
That's probably it.
So we would have been able to use the same commands. We'd be able to use the same commands to install or inspect the application just by specifying the repository.
And there's just so many ways we could use this with our existing workflow. And everyone knows about the workflow, so this would fit in very well.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Gareth.
Yeah. I wonder what cool new features we'll find next.
All right. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you, Amin. Pretty cool, right? Right? Yeah, thank you. So what we first saw was the same Docker Compose file describing any multi-service application that may be deployed to either Swarm or Kubernetes on the desktop without having to make any changes to the Compose file. Now, there are over 400,000 Docker Compose files on GitHub, and that count is more than doubling every year. And now, in addition to Swarm, you can bring those to Kubernetes. And in abstracting the multi-service app description away from the underlying orchestration technology, breaking the dependency between the app and the infrastructure, Docker is again giving you choice. In this case, choice of orchestration technologies. The dev can focus on their app without being dependent on the underlying orchestrator. We also introduced Docker App, a new way to define a multi-service application. It takes as an input Docker Compose, a Helm chart, Kubernetes YAML, and creates a single immutable image that encompasses all the elements of a distributed application. Docker containers, resource dependencies, configurations, and it allows you to ship and share that distributed app using your existing toolchain, including Docker Trusted Registry and Docker Hub. And by parameterizing the configurations that change with the environment, you can avoid file sprawl, hardwiring configurations, handing off your artifacts to ops with special instructions, often written on a sticky note. All that goes away because all ops needs, everything they need, is contained in the Docker app artifact. Okay, who wants to try this out? Yeah? All right, all right. Go here. Check it out, and we look forward to your feedback. Okay, we've mentioned several times this morning the natural tension between development and operations. We got to ask, is it possible to satisfy both dev and ops? How do you give developers choice? Choice of app stacks, choice of tools, as well as the agility they need to try new technologies, ship quickly, at the same time while satisfying operations needs for security. We've got some ideas that we'd like to share with you on this. Are you ready for another demo? All right. Please join me welcoming Lorena and Stephen to the stage.
Buenos dias, Stephen. I'm Lorena from IT. You called for help?
Yes, thank you. It's only my first morning here, and I'm stuck already.
But what's the problem?
So I need to get Docker Desktop on this computer, but I can't install it because that requires admin privileges, which I don't have. So can I become admin on this box?
Oh, don't worry. You don't need that. Actually, IT rolled out Docker Desktop on all workstations yesterday. So now individual developers don't need to find creative ways to install it and configure it themselves.
Oh, good. Right, so it's already installed?
Yes.
OK.
Actually, it happens.
Yeah, so let me have a look.
Yeah, take a look.
OK.
You know, IT rolled out Docker Desktop on all workstations yesterday, as I was telling you, and it's compatible with our mobile device management software.
OK.
So you have the proxy settings already configured for you.
OK. So, hey, what's this lock icon next to my proxies here?
Oh, we can configure some settings and prevent them from being changed. In this case, you need to connect through the company proxy server, or you won't be able to download container images.
OK.
You weren't planning to try and use your own proxy server, were you?
No, of course not.
Yeah, exactly what I thought. But you can change all the other settings, though, except for the network settings. We used to have a lot of people changing those settings and not being able to connect anymore. And this avoids all those problems.
OK. I guess that kind of makes sense. But another question. How do I update it when there's a new version of Docker Desktop?
Oh, you don't need to worry about that either. Whenever Docker releases a new version, we can push it to you automatically. And what else? I remember there was something else. Oh, yes. You can remember you can't remember. No, you cannot remember. I'm sorry. You can update the desktop version independently of the Docker engine or Kubernetes version inside it.
OK, so it has Kubernetes inside it too?
Yes.
Let me see. OK, enable Kubernetes. Disable Kubernetes. Enable. Disable. This is cool. It took like 2 weeks to set up Kubernetes in my last job. This looks much simpler.
Yes, and it's all the same versions running on our Docker Enterprise production cluster. And you can write your YAMLs right here on your laptop before pushing them to production, knowing that the exact same versions will be running there. And you'll get a chance of having a lot of fun writing your YAML files, as you developers love writing YAML files, right? Oh, and one more thing. Whenever we switch to a newer version of our Docker engine, our production cluster, you can switch to a newer version of the Docker engine and Kubernetes version in this version selection menu here.
You see that? OK, so you're saying that I can switch to a different version of Docker and Kubernetes to match the production cluster in this menu here without having to have several different versions of Docker Desktop installed?
Yes.
OK, that's nice. Hey, what's this menu item here? Design new application. I haven't seen that before.
Oh, this is a new feature for enterprise developers. And why don't you give it a try?
OK, choose a template. OK, so you're saying I can create new applications using these templates for all these common frameworks. So does that mean like more time writing actual code and less time writing YAML files? OK, that's great. Let me give this a try.
So I guess you're all set up now. I should get going. Are you sure you don't have any more questions? Hey?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Great.
So we just saw how we can strike a balance to make both developers and operators happy. Developers get Docker Engine and Kubernetes on their workstations, pre-installed, configured, updated, and ready to go. And you also saw how we ensure the developer's runtime matches the engine and Kubernetes version running in production. The result? Devs spend more time on their apps, less time managing infrastructure. And for operators, we've given them a way to centrally install, update, configure, as well as to selectively lock down desktop and network configurations, giving them the security they need. OK, so now it's the next day, and our new developer, Steven, is just starting to settle in. But he just got a new project that's causing some concern. So let's see how he picks up next.
Hi, Steven. Good to see you. What are you working on today?
Yeah, hi, boss. So I've got Docker Desktop installed, and I've been trying out the Docker Application Designer, which is very nice. And yeah, I've just been looking at this blockchain payment app that we've got, which is running on this CipherDB secure database.
Good. I wanted to talk to you about that app.
OK.
We have this TPS 1729 compliance. I may have forgot to talk to you about earlier.
Yeah.
But before you start, let me introduce Chris, our lead security engineer.
Hi, Chris.
So look, guys, I promised my boss we will fix this by today. Unfortunately, you know my schedule, right? I got loads of meetings, so you will need to handle that by now.
OK, so when we... Oh. Right. Chris, was it? Yeah, hi, Chris. I've only just started looking at the blockchain payment app, and now he says we've got to fix it today. So, yeah, where do we start?
Don't worry. We can figure something out. Let's look at the TPS specification.
OK.
Oh, this looks interesting. It says here that we need libcrypto version 1.1 or later, and libTPS version 3.0 or later for the database. That doesn't sound so complicated.
Oh, OK, cool. So I just take the CipherDB image, I rip out the libcrypto and libTPS, and somehow put the new ones in, the updated ones in.
No, that's not going to work. Our company policy states that we can't make modifications to vendors' Docker images. The images are signed, and if the signature changes, the image won't run on our Docker Enterprise cluster.
Oh, OK. So what are we going to do then? In that case, I've no idea how we're going to get this fixed today.
Don't worry, Stephen. With Application Designer's quick debug loop, we'll have this fixed in no time. Let's take a look at the CipherDB white paper. It might have something about TPS compliance there.
Oh, OK. I was actually just looking at this earlier, so luckily I have it right here. So CipherDB white paper. OK. Here's the table of contents.
There, that section looks interesting. TPS compliance.
TPS compliance, OK. In order to have TPS compliance, you will need to use CipherDB version 2.1 or later. OK, great. And it includes those libraries that you said.
Great.
OK.
We can ask Lorena to add the image with the right tag to our Docker Trusted Registry so that we can use it in our application.
Oh, OK. So let me have a look at the DTR. So. OK, here's the CipherDB image, and if I look at the tags, actually, we've got this one already. We've got the 2.1.2 here.
Great, then it's even easier. All we need to do is edit the application from the Application Designer.
OK, so I go back to the Application Designer, and
click on the application.
OK.
Click Open in Visual Studio Code.
OK.
And change the tag in the compose file.
OK, here it is, compose.yaml. OK, so I change this 1.8, and that's 2.1.2.
You've got it.
OK, and then is that it?
Yep, now you just go back to the Application Designer and hit Restart.
OK. Right, let's see what happens. Creating blockchain payment. And here we go. Oh, no, hang on. It says TPS audit check failed. Cannot run in secured environments. CipherDB TPS enabled, not set. So I need to set that environment variable, I guess. Oh, hang on. I saw something about that in the PDF. Yeah, I ignored it before. Here we are. See, set CipherDB TPS enabled equals 1. Okay.
Well, that's easy. We can set that in the compose file.
Okay. So I know how to do that now. Open in Visual Studio Code again.
In the environment section, just add it under CipherDB blockchain.
Okay, so it was CipherDB. Ooh, I shouldn't type in front of someone else. TPS enabled equals 1.
Save.
Save it. Go back here, restart again. And it's shutting them down. It's starting new ones up. Security check. TPS audit check success. Environment is now secure. Great. I love these quick test debug loops.
Yep.
Hey guys, no pressure. Just wanted to check where you are how it's going.
Don't worry. While you were having your meeting, we fixed it already.
Well done, team. So proud of us.
Hey.
So we saw how Docker Desktop works together with Docker Trusted Registry and Docker Hub to securely manage the application lifecycle, a secure software supply chain. The result, as you saw from the demo, the organization is able to distribute approved images through Docker Trusted Registry to all the developers participating in the application development. They're using digital signatures to prevent any compromised images from running, automatically enforcing policy through image tags, and finally using application parameters that enable a single image to support multiple environments. So it allows developers to make progress on their application without being blocked by ops, but do so in a way that's secure and safe, thus addressing the need of the operations team. So back to our question. Wouldn't it be cool if we could give developers the choice and agility they need while giving ops the security they need, and do so in a way that the teams of operators and developers could ship apps faster? Yeah. Thanks. Guess what? There's a product for that. In fact, there's a new product for that. We are really pleased to announce this morning here at DockerCon Europe, Docker Desktop Enterprise. It gives developers the productivity tools they need, like Docker Application Designer and Docker App, as well as runtime version packs to ensure they're running the same runtime on their workstation that ops is running in production, further reducing the friction between dev and ops. And on the operator's side, Docker Desktop Enterprise gives them just enough control through application templates, managed installs, and managed configurations so that they're able to secure the applications and the infrastructure without slowing things down. Who's interested in trying it out? Yeah? All right. Please sign up here. Be shipping tech previews early next year. We'd love to have you download, try it out, and give us feedback. So this morning, we shared customer stories from Societe Generale and Desigual. We saw use cases and demos ranging from legacy Windows Server applications to integrating the old and the new with Docker and MuleSoft, all the way to building new applications. And we are deploying all these different application types on both Linux servers and Windows servers across a range of infrastructure, on-prem, hybrid, public cloud. And in aggregate, this morning is a great manifestation of our vision to provide a platform that gives organizations the choice, agility, and security in building, shipping, and running any application on any operating system on any infrastructure. And so, to wrap up this morning, we want to share the platform capabilities, present and future, powering this vision. So first, starting with the developers. We showed in the demos how Docker Desktop Enterprise gives developers more choice, more agility, without compromising security. And going forward, we're going to add more support for more app stacks, more frameworks, more productivity tools, as well as integration with additional developer tools, such as IDEs. And speaking of security, we showed how Docker Desktop Enterprise, together with Docker Trusted Registry and Docker Hub, are key to the secure software supply chain by providing, in addition to registry services, image scanning and signing, automated tag-based policy enforcement. On top of that, Docker Trusted Registry and Docker Hub offer registry mirroring and caching, container image discovery and certification, as well as CI/CD integration. And finally, for operations, Universal Control Plane in Docker Enterprise provides all the functionality required to create infrastructure clusters, orchestrate applications pulled from Docker Trusted Registry, and to manage services spanning multiple cluster nodes, all running securely on the infrastructure of your choice. And going forward, we'll be meeting the needs of operators in providing a single pane of glass for federated cluster management, as well as for federated application management. Now, as rich as this platform is, in order to provide complete solutions for our customers, we rely on ecosystem integrations at every stage in the application lifecycle. Whether that's Docker-certified containers of enterprise software available on Docker Hub, whether that's Docker-certified plugins for logging, monitoring, security, storage, and networking, or Docker-certified infrastructure, which automatically provisions and configures the required infrastructure and stands up Docker Enterprise on-prem, hybrid, or in the cloud. So there are exciting things coming, and technologies and markets move so quickly, as everyone in this room is more than aware. And what are our guideposts? How do we take our cues as far as what to focus on, what to prioritize? It goes back to what Steve shared at the top. Driven by our customers and the goals they're trying to achieve with our products, we ask ourselves, does this functionality give our customers more choice? Does this functionality give our customers more agility? Does this functionality give our customers more security? In building, shipping, and running any application on any operating system on any infrastructure. Thanks so much for your time this morning. We look forward to sharing more all during the week, as well as from hearing from you during the breakouts, the hallway track, and tonight's party. Before we break, we want to wrap by celebrating the successes of our customers. And so to do that, please join me in welcoming to the stage Betty Janode.
Hi there. So today we talked about how the Docker container platform can turn ideas into reality faster and more efficiently than ever before. Software has the power to unlock the potential in us, And it uniquely scales our creativity and imagination in ways no other medium can. After personally going to 7 DockerCons, I have been lucky enough to experience your creativity and imagination firsthand. Your enthusiasm and passion for what's possible is what inspires us at Docker. This DockerCon, I get the pleasure of recognizing some organizations with our first ever Customer Innovation Awards. And innovation can mean many things, and you don't have to disrupt everything at once to be innovative. However, that first step becomes that catalyst for change. Innovating even the smallest thing, but the thing that makes your customer happy, is innovation itself. Each change has a ripple effect, and before you know it, transformation has taken hold. And because transformation is a journey, we have 2 categories to celebrate these special organizations. The first is Rising Star. This category is designed for customers who have recently started their containerization journey and are leveraging their first project with Docker Enterprise to be that catalyst for innovation. And to help with these awards, I'd like to invite my lovely assistant to the stage. Thank you, Steve. I'd like to invite our finalists to the stage as I announce them. BCG Gamma. They leverage Docker Enterprise to develop breakthrough analytics and machine learning with their Source AI solution. Citizens Bank. They began their journey with us as Franklin American Mortgage with a dedicated innovation team, kicking off cultural and technical transformation of traditional mortgage. Thank you. The Dutch Ministry of Justice, where an evaluation of Docker Enterprise sparked an idea to modernize custodial services. First, by digitizing a literal status board with sticky notes into software. Hey, Chris. Congratulations. Let's give our finalists a round of applause. Can you go have a seat? Thanks. And now for the winner of the Rising Star Award for 2018. As you saw in the video earlier, Desigual worked with Docker Enterprise and microservices to transform the in-store shopping experience in less than 5 months. This new experience is driving a higher NPS score, and the team has plans to roll this out, expand it out from Europe to their stores worldwide. Hi. Thank you. Yeah. Let's give them a round of applause. Can you grab a seat?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's okay. Do you want to say a few words, Matthias? Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to thank Docker for this award. I would like to thank everybody in Desigual that's watching this. This is for you guys. It's been a pleasure. Just as a note, we're giving a breakout session today at 12, so feel free to join us there. And remember, la vida es chula.
Thank you.
The next category is business transformation. In this category, customers have developed enterprise-wide initiatives to transform IT and their business, with Docker Enterprise as a key part of that technology strategy. And more importantly, they have shared that experience with others to advance the industry. Our finalists include Liberty Mutual, a company who has created what they call a multi-lane highway, based on an enterprise-wide containerization to dramatically reduce the cost of their existing assets, as well as accelerate the delivery of new services. MetLife, they have modernized hundreds of traditional applications with containerization and cloud at the core of their IT strategy, but they've also created a unique self-funding model where the optimization of their legacy allows them to invest in their future. Both MetLife and Liberty Mutual are not here today, so we'll accept the awards on their behalf. Our next finalist that I'd like to invite on stage is Bosch. And Bosch is enabling a platform for their developers it's a globally distributed software development, but with a centralized management model that allows them to secure their IP without impeding any innovation or their developers. Let's give them a round of applause. Last but not least is the winner of the business transformation category. And this company was one of the first Docker Enterprise customers many years ago, and their team has presented at every single DockerCon since the beginning of DockerCons to share their journey of DevOps, container, and cloud, and to fundamentally educate the broader community and industry on what they're doing, their journey, how they're doing it, what they've learned. Their leadership as early adopters and partnership has advanced the container platform for transformation at scale. This year's winner is Société Générale. The Société Générale team transformed how a 150-year-old bank develops its software internally with Docker Enterprise, cloud, and an ecosystem of modern tools for migrating thousands of applications. Yeah. It's very heavy. One more round of applause for our award winners. Do you want to give a...
So thank you very much. As you said, a simple idea that changes our lives. So thank you for Société Générale teams, of course, all the IT departments, from the developers, of course, and the ops that have been working on this since a while. Yes, it was a long adventure with you guys. Great ideas, great team, and great partnerships with you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos. One more round of applause for our award winners. We cannot wait to see what you do next. And for everybody here today, don't just imagine your future, go build it. Have a wonderful day at DockerCon.